Welcome to section 1.3. This is day 2. If you'll notice, again, this section is all no calculator. So we're going to run into a few fractions and we'll work through that, but no calculator, please. We have two main objectives. We're going to translate verbal expressions into algebraic expressions and then vice versa. And we're going to solve equations using properties of equality. Looking at example 1, it says write an algebraic expression to represent each verbal expression. So the difference of -4 and 12. Difference means subtract. So difference of -4 and 12 is going to be -4 subtract 12. That's the algebraic expression. And if I asked you to evaluate that, you would tell me -16. Product of 6 and 14. Product we know means multiply, so this is going to be 6 multiplied by 14. C is the most difficult one by far. It says 2 more than the product of 4 and the cube of a number. So 2 more than the product of 4. So 4 multiplied by, because that product means multiply. 4 and the cube of a number, so x cubed. So 2 add 4x cubed. My final answer. Now we're going to go the other direction. This time, for example 2, you are given the algebraic expression and you have to write the verbal expression. So in A, we have 6x. So that's going to be the product, because we're multiplying, the product of 6 and a number. Now we have equal, so is 72. So the product of 6 and a number is 72. Looking at B, I have 2c, so that's the product of 2 and a number, or in other words, twice a number, is, so that's the equal, is, adding 5, that is 5 more than another number. Okay, I have to say another number because that clarifies that the two numbers are different. So here I have C and I have B. These are two separate numbers. Okay, and then last one is C. So I have 2c again, so that's still twice a number. Twice a number is, that's the equal sign. This time I'm subtracting, so is 4 less than. Okay, so here's the tricky part. It's c again. So I have to word this in some way so I know that it's the same variable that I was talking about before. So it's 4 less than, I'm going to say that number squared. So twice a number is 4 less than that number squared. I know that's a little bit confusing, but you do have to differentiate in B and C, parts B and C, where part B you have two different variables, whereas part C you have the same variable twice. So we'll do some more examples like that in class. That was our first objective, translating between the two. Moving on to example 3 is where we start to solve equations. And this should be review. Okay, so we'll notice in part A that we have a fraction. So we have a fraction multiplied by x. In order to get rid of that fraction, we have to divide by -5/8. Okay, we're not real good with dividing by fractions. Remember that dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply this side by -8/5. So you just flip it. Okay, so I have 20/1 multiplied by -8/5. 20 multiplied by -8. 2 multiplied by -8 is -16, and then I have that 0 divided by 5. Okay, so -160 divided by 10 would be -16. So -160 divided by 5 is going to be double that. So that's going to be -32 is equal to x. So that's okay if you don't remember that. But we multiplied by the reciprocal, and then negative 160 divided by 5 is negative 32. Right now, pause the video and try B on your own. Don't move on to D, just do B and then come back when you are finished, please. Okay, you should have had enough time to try this one on your own. Because this is review, I am not showing you the work, but I will tell you that x equals negative 1. So if you got something wrong, if you did not get x equals negative 1, you need to go back and do the problem again. When you come to class tomorrow, we will be checking for your work. Moving on to C, we will notice that we have some more fractions. Fractions is nobody's favorite. So the first thing that you want to do is just get rid of those fractions right away. In order to do that, I need to find the common denominator. Okay, so I have a 3 and a 15. What number can I divide both 3 and 15 by evenly? That number is 15. So 15 divided by 15 is just 1. 15 divided by 3 is 5, so they both divide evenly. Then because I have this x here, my common denominator is going to be 15x. So what I'm going to do is multiply the entire equation by 15x. That's 15x over 1. We need to multiply the numerators. So in this case, 1 multiplied by 15x is 15x. And then x multiplied by 1 is just x. I'm going to keep that up. 2 multiplied by 15x is 30x. 3 multiplied by 1 is 3. 3 multiplied by 15x is 45x. 15 multiplied by 1 is 15. I'm sorry, on this first fraction it should be 15x. Sorry if I confused you. Now we can simplify. 15x divided by x is just 15. 30x divided by 3 is 10x. 45x divided by 15 is 3x. Should be an equal sign. So I have 15 add 10x is equal to 3x. If I subtract 10x, I get 15 is equal to negative 7x, because 3x subtract 10x is negative 7x. Dividing by negative 7, I get x equals 15 over negative 7, and that's my final answer. Right now, stop the video and try part D on your own. I know this one looks daunting, but the first thing that you need to do is identify the common denominator. So what number can you divide 2, 4, and 10 by evenly? So 5, nope, 5's not divisible by 4. 10, nope, 10's not divisible by 4. Keep going until you find the common denominator, then multiply your entire equation by that common denominator. Good luck! Okay, you should have had enough time to try this one on your own. Because this one is definitely more difficult, I'm going to go over this one with you. The common denominator that you should have gotten is 20. So 20 divided by 2 is 10, 20 divided by 4 is 5, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. So I'm going to multiply everything by 20. 20 multiplied by 1 is 20, and then keep the denominator the same. 3 multiplied by 20 is 60, denominator stays the same. 3 multiplied by 20 again is still 60. Okay, 20 divided by 2 gives me 10, and then I still have that x. 60 divided by 4 is 15, and then 60 divided by 5 is 12. Subtracting 10x, I get negative 15 equals 2x, because 12 subtract 10 is 2. Dividing by 2, I get x to be negative 15 over 2. And that one should have been done without a calculator. If you got it wrong, that's okay. Fix your work, and hopefully you now know what you did wrong. If you have questions, bring them to class tomorrow. Moving on to page 8. Now we're going to do some word problems. So we're going to start by writing down the word problem steps, and then we have 2 word problems to do. After that, we are finished. So the first step in a word problem is to define your variable. Then you're going to write an equation depicting the situation. You are going to solve. And then the one that we forget the most often is to actually answer the question. So by that I don't mean x equals 6. I mean writing a sentence that answers the question. So let's look at example 4. It says, I have 44 meters of fencing with which to encircle my yard. If the width of my yard is 6 meters longer than the length, how wide is the yard? Okay, so I didn't tell you this, but I'm going to tell you that my yard is a rectangle. Okay, so how wide is the yard? It's talking about width, and it's talking about length. So it says the width is 6 meters longer than the length. Because it's comparing width to length, I'm going to define L to be the length of the yard. And I'm going to mark that length. Now it says the width is 6 meters longer than the length. So you have to take the length, and then it's 6 meters longer than that. So I'm going to add 6. Because this is a rectangle, I know that the opposite sides are congruent. Okay, it says I have 44 meters of fencing. That's talking about the outside, so we're talking about perimeter here. In order to find the perimeter, we want to add up the sides. So I'm going to have L, add L plus 6, add another L, and then another L add 6. That's equal to 44. Combining like terms, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 L's. And then I have 6 and another 6. Subtracting 12, I get 4L equals 32. So L equals 8. Now the final question asked, how wide is the yard? So here's our width. So our width is going to be 8 add 6, which is 14. So final answer, the yard is 14 meters wide. That's the final answer. Please make sure you include units and that you write a sentence. Okay, moving on to our last example. Example 5, you are going to do on your own. Pause the video, try this one on your own. You need to define a variable. You already have an equation. You need to solve, and then you need to write a sentence answering the question. You may use a calculator on this one. So pause, come back when you're finished, please. Okay, you should have had enough time to try this one on your own. You should have taken x to be 15. It says x is the number of years since 2000. So in 2015, 15 years have passed. When you substitute in 15, you get y equals 64.5. Okay, so we're predicting the population. So right now we need to think, does it make sense that the population of Mount Prospect is going to be 64.5 people? No. So hopefully you didn't say that. It says the equation is used to model the population in thousands. So it's 64.5 thousands. So when you multiply by 1,000, that gives 64,500 people. So that is our prediction for the population of Mount Prospect in 2015. When you come to class, you should have the work showing how you got to that answer. Please bring any questions and we will go over them before we start the classwork. Thank you.